If you want your Unreal Engine menus to look professional, you need clean, responsive tabs that switch pages instantly. Here is what we are creating today. A polished tab window with a modular layout you can reuse anywhere. I will show you how to build it step by step using a widget switcher. Stay with me and learn how to create a real production-ready UI element for your game. Let us begin creating our tab window by using a widget switcher and learn how the widget switcher works in practice. As always, to avoid wasting time on setup, I already created a new empty widget blueprint. This widget will later be called inside the main widget blueprint. I am also assuming you already know how to add a widget to the viewport in your project. On the left panel, open the palette and search for a canvas. Drag and drop a canvas into the hierarchy. At the top right of the designer, change the screen preview from Fill to Custom and set the width to 600 and the height to 500. Next, search for a background blur widget. Drag and drop it onto the canvas. Select it, open the anchor menu and choose the option that fills the entire screen. It is the anchor preset located at the bottom right of the grid. Now change all the offsets. Set the left offset to 0, the top offset to 0, the right offset to 0, and the bottom offset to 0. Keep both alignment values at 0 for horizontal and vertical alignment. Then set the Z order to -1. The Z order works exactly like layering in traditional design software such as photo editing tools. A lower number means the element stays underneath everything else. By putting the background blur at -1 and keeping the rest at 0, we make sure the blur layer remains behind all other elements. Increase the blur strength to 10. In a previous video where I demonstrated how to create a glass-style window, someone asked how to make the blurred background have rounded corners instead of sharp edges. So let me show that as well. In the Appearance category, expand the Advanced section. You will see the corner radius settings. Set all 4 values to 50. These represent the 4 corners of the background blur: top left, top right, and bottom left. With this change, our blurred background now has smooth, rounded corners. At this point, we have a canvas with a properly configured background blur ready for the rest of the UI. Now let us create the tab menu. In the palette, search for a horizontal box and drag it into the canvas. We will use this horizontal box to hold our buttons, and this will act as the top tab bar of our interface. Select the horizontal box and change its anchor to the top preset. It is the anchor option that sits in the upper row. After that, adjust the height of the slot to around 60 units so the bar has enough room for the buttons. Next, search in the palette for a button and drag it into the horizontal box. With the button selected, change its size rule from automatic to fill so it expands evenly inside the horizontal layout. Now search for a text widget and drag it inside the button. Change the text content to the phrase Tab 1. Open the font settings and choose the size you prefer. I will use a 28 value here to ensure the label is readable. Then open the color and opacity panel and change the color to the one you want. I will choose black for this demonstration. Click back on the button itself and enable the Is Variable option so we can use this button inside our blueprint logic. Rename it to something clear such as Tab Button so it is easier to work with later. With the button still selected, add a small amount of padding under the horizontal box slot settings. A value of 1 is enough to give space between the buttons. Now duplicate the button by holding the Control key and pressing the letter D on the keyboard. Do this 2 times to create 2 more copies. This gives us 3 buttons which Unreal will automatically name with a number suffix, such as tab button _1 and tab button _2. These 3 buttons will fill the horizontal tab bar. Select each button and confirm that all of them have the Is Variable option enabled. This is required so we can bind click events for every tab inside the blueprint. At this point, we have a horizontal tab bar with 3 buttons that will serve as our navigation tabs. Now update the remaining buttons. Select the second button and change its text content to the phrase Tab 2. Then select the third button and change its text content to the phrase Tab 3. This will clearly label each button for the 3 different tabs. Now let us create the actual tab content, and this is where we begin using the main feature of this tutorial, which is the Widget Switcher. In the palette, search for a Widget Switcher and drag it into the root canvas panel. Select it, open the anchor menu, and set the anchors to full size. This is the preset located at the bottom right of the anchor grid. Next, adjust the offsets. Set the left offset to 0, the top offset to 60 units, the right offset to 0, and the bottom offset to 0. This places the widget switcher directly under the tab bar we created earlier. Keep the Z order at 0. Inside the switcher settings, you will see a field called Active Widget Index. This value controls which content panel is currently displayed, and later we will change it through blueprint logic when each tab button is clicked. To create our first content section, drag a canvas panel into the widget switcher. Set both the horizontal and vertical alignment of this canvas to fill, so it occupies the entire switcher space. Now search in the palette for a text widget and drop it inside this new canvas. Change the text to the phrase Tab 1 Content. Open the slot settings and enable Size to Content, so the widget sizes itself to the text. Then change the anchors to the center preset. Set position X to 0 and position Y to 0, and set both alignment values to 0.5. This ensures the text remains centered perfectly. Next, select the canvas panel we just created under the widget switcher, duplicate it 2 more times using the Ctrl and D shortcut. Expand each new duplicated canvas and update the text. Change the second one to the phrase Tab 2 Content and change the third one to the phrase Tab 3 Content. Now we have 3 separate content panels inside the widget switcher. When you select any of these canvas panels in the hierarchy, you will notice the widget switcher automatically displays that specific content in the designer. This helps visualize which tab is active. With the content panels prepared, we can now move on to creating the logic that will switch between them when each button is pressed. Before we create the logic, select the widget switcher in the hierarchy and enable the option called isVariable. This allows us to reference the switcher inside the blueprint. Now select the first tab button. Scroll down in the details panel until you reach the events section. Under the onClicked entry, press the plus icon. This adds a new onClicked event to the event graph, and it automatically brings us into the blueprint editor of this widget. In the variables panel on the left side, locate the widget switcher and drag it into the graph. From its output pin, drag a wire and search for the function named setActiveWidgetIndex. Place the node, set the index to 0, and connect the execution pin from the onClicked event into the function. This means that pressing the first tab button will switch to the first content panel. Next, we need to repeat the process for the second button. Instead of going back to the designer manually, we can use a faster method. In the variables list, simply select the second button. Its details panel will appear below. Scroll down to the event section and press the plus icon for onClicked. This creates a new event for the second button. Drag the widget switcher into the graph again, wire out from it, search for setActiveWidgetIndex, and this time set the index to 1. Connect the execution pin from the onClicked event to the function. Finally, do the same for the third button. Select it from the variables panel, scroll down in the details panel, and press the plus icon for its onClicked event. Drag in the widget switcher one more time, wire out, and search for setActiveWidgetIndex. Set the index to 2 and connect the execution pin. At this point, all 3 buttons are wired to the widget switcher. Each button triggers the correct index, which means each tab now switches to the proper content when clicked. Our tab system is fully functional. For the final step, open your main widget blueprint. In the palette, search for the widget we just created, which in my case is named WBP Widget Switcher tab. Drag it into the designer and set its size to match the canvas dimensions we used earlier, which were 600 by 500. Place it wherever you want it to appear on the screen. Save and compile the blueprint, then run the game. You will now see the tab window displayed in your interface. Clicking each tab switches the content instantly, exactly as we configured. Remember, the widget switcher is not limited to tab systems. You can use it for many different purposes in your project. It can swap user interface layouts based on game state, switch between pages in your main menu such as settings, about, level selection, tutorials, load and save screens, and much more. It is one of the most flexible and easy to use tools inside the user interface system. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and support the channel. I will see you in the next video.